one was really cool. It's a very simple concept. It's executed really well. It builds gradually, but obviously doesn't take too much time. This is a short film, and it just sort of builds to a point where it can't anymore. And then there's just this delightful sort of turn at the end. And I mean, obviously, delightful in a terrifying, demented sort of way. But yeah, it's really great. It's well done, and it is worth checking out.
I like the way that every corner starts with the meditation exercises on the playlist, and the shot which focused on the kitchen decor from, I guess you could say, the baseboards up, and how she walked into the shot on the kitchen floor. I thought that that was a different way to lead our character into the kitchen. I wasn't expecting this one to get so creepy so soon, but yes, it does. I'm really wondering why she didn't grab the knife, but I guess she's being controlled by this entity. It was really interesting to me how the villain also looked like the one on the meditation track. This is exactly why I don't meditate. Opening doors and, I can't imagine just sitting there all night watching the door. Just so scary. This actress did a really good job of showing her character's distress and fear. This film was slow crawl and kept my mind racing and kept me guessing how it would end. And I guess it doesn't end very well for our character at the end in this case.
This was so well done. I thought it was so interesting, and they played it, I think personally for me, they played it just right with starting off like relatively small, or kind of like you get those moments where like as you like scan the scene, you suddenly see something that wasn't there before, and it's believable that the actress or like the girl kind of stops what she's doing and like goes to double check, or just go like turns in the other direction and goes to her room, like, but doesn't want to do it in like, I don't want to be running through my apartment in case nothing's here kind of a situation. I thought it was really well done. They just did a lot of little things very, very well. And so all those things together built to a like full story that was done really well. I really enjoyed it.
Me personally watching this, I was like literally on the edge of my seat the entire time, wanting to know more. And I think one thing that really got to me is that the monster wasn't doing anything at first, and that made me wonder like why, what's the wait, like I wonder what the monster is like waiting for. It seemed as though like just by the character's reactions and emotions, like this wasn't something new to her. It's something that she faced often. And it made me wonder if this was more a mental and emotional thing than it was just like a physical thing. And I think like that having that like dual, fear is just, and made it that much more of a thrill for the audience. So yeah, I really enjoyed this film, and I would love to know more about it.
An incredibly quiet film. There's no dialogue, but we very, very clearly see a story developing. We see the hero being stalked by this incredibly creepy entity who will not leave her alone. He is slow moving and not particularly aggressive, which somehow makes him creepier in that sense. We just don't really know what he wants. Though, as time goes on, I started thinking, perhaps he's more benevolent than we think. Maybe he just wants a friend. As she slowly starts to accept her new reality and tries to resume her normal life, we come to find out that he is, in fact, not her friend. And yeah, overall, I really enjoyed watching this film. It had a different take on a classic stranger in your home narrative or ghost haunting you kind of narrative. We don't often see the hero just kind of giving in and being like, well, this is my life now, and if you're going to be here, sure, come on in. So I thought that was really different.
I love storytelling that doesn't need words to understand who this character is. Just from the first shot of the books on her bookshelf, meditation podcast is playing and she's cooking a dinner clearly made of whatever is left over in the fridge of breakfast for dinner. So I feel like I really knew her, and she's just your average millennial, probably living alone during the pandemic. And really interesting switch when we see this looming presence, and the manner in which the pace would quicken and it would move like a daze after seeing this character, I thought was so interesting. And it didn't rely on the jump scare. At first, that was there, but throughout the piece, you start to get more used to this character always being there watching. And it's more a sense of unease rather than fear, more a great metaphor for depression constantly following you, or that paranoia. So it was also unexpected because we had gotten so used to this figure that final shot at the end truly was scary and it had taken over. So overall, I thought it was a very effective piece.
Very psychological horror that was very enhanced by Joe Cambra's very, very enigmatic and appropriate score. I really thought that, by the first minute, the show produces its first legitimate scare. And I think that was achieved by its multitude of unusual camera angles. We have the floor camera, we have the inside the fridge camera, and for that reason, we're so shocked to see the monster just lurking in the shadows. And I found that very impressive.
Benefit in this genre of film with a less is more kind of approach. We have the villain, which the makeup is really great because it's just something different. It's so ambiguous. It's so, it's not a zombie. It's not a ghost. It's not a monster in like the traditional sense of like snarling teeth and deformities. It's just this odd entity that's human-like enough to feel familiar and yet foreign enough to be unsettling. And the way it seems so docile to a certain extent and mundane, however persistent, is so much more effective than some of the more heavy-hand approaches that we see some filmmakers take in horror. Where we have antagonistic forces that are obviously aggressive, obviously hostile, easy to identify what they are. Oh, that's a ghost. Oh, that's a monster under the bed. This, again, it has the less than more approach and shows the great results that can come from doing that and doing that so well. As it gets closer and closer to her, we gain more unsettlement, because we still don't have the answers, but we have enough context to derive our own interpretations, and that's what you really want.